Welcome to the Jaybe Font channel. I'm sorry, wrong channel. Welcome to the Jaybe Show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Today is December 17th, 2022. As you all know, yes, I had to start off with that. One of the reasons why I want to start off with that is because I wanted everybody to see what Gaza did look like. And so that's one of the reasons why I showed it. I couldn't play the music in the background because I didn't want us to get a copyright claim. But needless to say, I hope the music fit along with it. But it's so good to see all of you here with me this very afternoon. So if you guys know that the Jaybe Show is every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you guys can also find me typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays on RBN, but you guys can also see me on my channel on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. If you guys have not already, then you guys can also subscribe to our Substack. You can go to revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so that you guys are aware of whenever we have email notifications for live streams as well as clips that are uploaded, so you guys are on our mailing list. As well as thank you and a shout out to all the patrons on Patreon. For without you guys, we would not be able to have this channel. So thank you so very much for being the backbone of this channel as well, to help us continuously get the message out there. Thank you so very much from the top and bottom of our hearts. So as per usual, whenever I have a stream and is me writing solo, I would like to say hello to all the people in the chat, just to give my highs and high fives, proverbially, of course. We have Miguel coming in saying, peace, good to see you, Miguel. Mark coming in saying solidarity. Yes, thank you. Joe Anthony, also another solidarity as well. We have Joey says, booze hoo, folks. Good to see you. Mason says, join. Thank you so very much. Terry Connolly coming in saying, greetings, comrades. Amanda coming in saying, hi. We have Radical Nation says, greetings from Philly. My family's from Philly, 45th and Sampson, West Philadelphia. Good to see you. All right. So good to have all of you here in the stream today. Also, hello to everyone that is watching also on Rockfin, Facebook, Twitch, and Rumble. Thank you so very much to see all of you here. Ashura is also says, are you normally here on RBN on Sunday? Ashura, I've been here on Sundays on RBN since 2021 since we began. Every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I've been here on Sundays. Where have you been? Yeah, every Sunday, 1 p.m. I've been at this time slot and this day since April 2021. I can see Shura going, "What, dude?" Leroy coming in saying, "Good day, comrades. Good to see you." All right. We have Joe Anthony saying, "Yes, 48th and Sampson. That's where my family lived, especially." And then we also have the Court of Public Opinion saying, "Hey, girl. Hey, court." Randy Bray out here giving some love. Ashura says, "I thought Sunday was your channel day." No, Tuesday is my channel day. So, but if there's typically if I don't have um if there's nothing else going on and if I have a special that I need to cover, then I'll go on my channel on a Sunday. But typically, no. RBN is the day I go. The Sundays is the day I go on RBN. Matt says, "Greetings, JB and comrades. Good to see you as well." All right, so let's get into the subjects for today. There's going to be two, and they're kind of related because they both have to deal with people that are involved with education. We have a story about a student, and we also have a story about a teacher. So this is going to be in line with both of those. This is going to be a very interesting two stories, and I really just want to get into these because I saw these at the end of the week, and I felt these also have to be talked about, especially. So let's go in and let's take a look at the subjects for today. These are what we're going to be talking about. So, teacher fired, and why is the Israeli flag next to the teacher? We're going to be getting into that, and then a student that was expelled unjustly. So we're going to be talking about these two. So something happened with a teacher, and something happened with a student. Why did this happen? So we're going to start off with expelled unjustly. So in Florida, there was a student that was expelled because of the actions of his mother. It wasn't anything that he did. Let's take a look at this story because I think that it is important. When people say that they feel, when people say that they feel like they're unsafe in this country, especially people who are Jewish, I don't hear anybody say the same thing for anybody that may be Arab. If you're Arab and you're in the chat, how do you feel about your safety within this country? Go ahead and let me know. Because the thing is that I'm seeing an influx of things that are against Arabs. And I also want to say this, let's normalize prejudice against Arabs as anti-Semitic. Let's normalize that because Arabs are Semites. Let's normalize saying that anything that's anti-Arab is anti-Semitic because it is. Because if we're going to use words, we want to use words by their definitions. And a Semite is a person or people that is either that speaks Hebrew or Arabic or Aramaic. Arabs speak Arabic. So therefore, they are Semites. So if you're experiencing something that is anti-Arab, then that's anti-Semitic. So in my view, what this school did was anti-Semitic. Real anti-Semitism. Let's take a look here. I love this page YouTube. I think it's Cuds New York. I'm sorry, Cuds News Network. I'm sorry. And so they do great reporting. It says Jad Abu Hamda got expelled from Pinecrest School in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, due to his mother's post about Palestine on her social media accounts. Let's get into it.
I'm disappointed and I'm sad.
15-year-old Jade Abugamda, speaking at a news conference with his mother, insists he did nothing wrong.
If they said I did something, but it wasn't bad, even that didn't happen. I just didn't do anything at all.
Abugamda has attended Pinecrest School in Fort Lauderdale since first grade. Last month, the school fired his mother, Maha Al-Masri, a Palestinian-American woman who had been a math tutor at Pinecrest, and expelled her son.
Sad for my child, who was deprived of finishing his high school career.
It's all because...
Now, let me ask you this. Is that fair? Is it fair to expel a student because of the actions of his parent? Let's say, I can speak from this from experience, because my mother was employed with the school system for many years. And when I was in middle school, my mother actually worked at my middle school. If my mother were to do anything wrong while I was in school, would that deem me being expelled from school for the actions of my mother? Even though I had nothing to do with it, I had no influence over what happened, over her actions. Is that fair? I'd argue it is not fair. Let's get into what she did that was so bad according to the school. And I'll show you guys exactly what was posted on social media.
It's all because of a series of posts on her personal Instagram account that the school deemed hateful and incendiary. In a statement, Pinecrest School says that Maha's post included an image of a soldier pointing a machine gun at an infant inside of an incubator and an image with commentary suggesting that some wanted to roast babies in an oven.
So let me share that actual particular meme or picture that was shown, because a lot of people are going, oh my God, that's horrible. It is an illustration. It's a drawing. And let me share. So let me see. Can I share? Can I show this without it being hang on. So here it is. So if you guys can see kind of clearly, I had to pause it so that you guys can see. But there's this picture with a baby in an incubator, right? There is an IDF soldier, because he has the patch, the Israeli flag. And the caption says, but do you condemn Hamas? Now, let me ask you the question. Where's the lie? Where is the lie? Because the thing is that what actually happened in Gaza? Did they not cut off food, fuel, electricity, and the water? Did they not cut it all off? Were hospitals in Gaza not bombed by the IDF? Were they not? Also, let me ask you this. Was she expressing any type of hatred towards Jewish people. See, that's the issue. People will equate a state with a nationality or an ethnicity. If I criticize South Africa, does that make me racist? If I criticize Uganda, does that make me racist? Because if that's the case, if that is what it is, then my criticisms of the anti-LGBTQ policies of Uganda should make me racist. It shouldn't. If you're a white person and you're criticizing what's going on in Ethiopia or Sudan or Burkina Faso or Madagascar, then sorry, by their metric, you're racist. By that metric. So she shared that. That's what was on her Instagram. But here's the point. Her son got expelled. Her son paid the price for something that he never did. Let's go back to the report.
None of my posts were inciting violence.
The mother and son, along with their attorney, spoke at the Council of American Islamic Relations of Florida.
This is about Jad's expulsion. He did nothing, but is suffering consequences, we feel, just by association.
The school responded with a statement saying, the student handbook and enrollment agreement make clear that if a parent engages in behavior that is disruptive, intimidating, or overly aggressive, the school may take the action that it deems necessary to address the situation.
But here's the thing. How is keeping that student in school disruptive, intimidating, or aggressive? Like, how is keeping the student there? I get if you have your policy and you need to let the teacher go, even though I think it's dumb because that was on her personal Instagram account and it wasn't inciting any violence and it wasn't anything hateful against a people. It's against the government and their policies. Let me ask you this. If she had did the same thing against Palestinians, would she still have her job? If it was the DPRK, the North Korean government, what she posted something about, would she also have still kept her job? What if it was Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, right? What if it was those countries? What would she still have been fired? If it was China, she could be tagged with xenophobia, right? If it was Russia, she could have been tagged with Russophobia. If it were DPRK, North Korea, she could be tagged with Asian hate. It will be justified by these metrics. It will be justified. If it were Cuba, it could be justified as anti-Latino hate. If it were Libya, it would be anti-African hate. So, by that very metric, everyone who has posted about a country is guilty of prejudice and bigotry against a racial group. And yet, because it was against who? Israel. Oh, she got to go. And her son has to go too. Even though he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. But yet they can have that in their handbook and apply it to him, even though it's not his fault. Sounds similar to collective punishment to me. Actions punishing somebody for the actions of another.
Our main concern is not only with Jad and his mother. Our main concern is suppressing the right of Americans to express what they feel within their heart is to be decent human rights.
It's the people I see in the hallways, the people I can smile at when I'm walking to class. And that was taken away from me.
According to the news reports, he still hasn't been back to school since this came out because he's expelled. Now, some people say, well, this is a private school. See, this is one of the reasons why I do not like private schools. I'm going to be real with you. This is why I think all schools should be public. This is why I believe in public education. Because guess what? Education is a right. So therefore, why are we privatizing it? It's just not. And everybody should have the top-notch education in this country. That's what sucks. This is why I'm against for-profit education. Because if this were a public school, then the teacher or the mother that was a tutor, I think the most that she probably would have gotten was a suspension. And nobody would have touched the student because it's literally his education. And it's literally his right to education. But this also goes to the stain of privatized education. Because the moment you do something that's still within your right as a citizen, you can get kicked out. You can get expelled. Your right to an education can be denied because of privatization. This is why when it comes to even colleges and universities, especially a lot of these Ivy League schools, these private colleges, this is why they're able to kick people out so easily. Because it's private. And you have these people who are conservative who want to gut and get rid of public education. Why? So that you can dole out education to people who you deem deserve instead of it actually being a right. And that's the issue of capitalism. Because once you hook education to profit motive, then that means that some people are going to be deemed worthy of it, but others are not going to be deemed worthy of education. When in reality, it is a universal right. So this 15-year-old boy who's been going to this school since the first grade. It's not like, oh, he spent a year at this school, 2 years at this school. And no. And a lot of this kid has literally grown up in this institution. And you just rip that away from him. And some people will go, well, he can always go to a public school now. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, but and unfortunately, because the way of our system is so lopsided, that typically kids who actually go to a private school because of funding, because private schools have a lot more funding and are able to do a lot better, well, he's probably further ahead than kids in public schools. And plus, this is Florida. Have you guys seen Florida public schools? I'm a product of Florida public education. Anywho, so that's the thing. So he might be further ahead, and so he may not be able to do as well in a public school setting because, well, they typically gut the education system. Which is why we need to fully fund public education much better. So it's just wild to me that they actually did this to this kid. All because his mom posted some stuff that was her opinion, that was not hateful, and that was not violent. But he got punished for it. It's weird. So yeah, that's what happened here in Fort Lauderdale, in Florida. And you're not going, and here's the crazy part. You're not going to see Ron DeSantis speak out about this. Mr. I'm for free speech. Not when it comes to this. He's not going to be for free speech. He's not going to say shit. Because Ron DeSantis was never really for free speech. It's only for what suits him. Boy, I'm telling you. Go ahead and give a like for the stream. Thank you so very much to everybody. Going ahead into the chat. All right. I'm going to start off on The Rock. Make sure that we get this in. All right, Jaybe. All right, so Anna Mayer says, morning, JB. Good morning, Anna. Roger Meadows says, wonder if these colleges, schools ever thought of bringing both together and talk. They could both walk away learning something. He continues, says, Jay, I'm mixed on K through 12 public institutions like public education, which always has failed Black people. You can't depend on oppressor tools to free yourself. I understand, but at the same time, I also feel like public education is absolutely necessary because it's a right. Because if you do not have it public, then that means that somebody is going to get left behind. So I think some of the groundwork has to be done first when it comes to building a foundation of material needs that had to be done first. Reparations is definitely part of this conversation in changing the education system. So I think that has to be part of it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But thank you very much. Let's go to the rest of the chat. Oh, Mark. He says, in that case, Obama's children shouldn't get any job or education at all due to their dad's a war criminal. Ooh. Ooh, that's a good one. Joe Anthony says, caricature often reveals ugly truths. Yes. Amanda Brinkley says, but that's the intention of death of a baby, war crime on that happen. Ashura says, I have seen that meme and that meme became real. Yeah. Claire says, caring for people is illegal, apparently. Apparently. The court of public opinion says the most benign thing that ever seen, and she got fired over this. The F. Yep. Leaf Lee Sweatshop says, joined. Oh, thank you. Good to see Jacqueline in chat. Ellen says, good morning. Free Gaza, free Palestine, free Assange. Pardon Trump. Pardon Trump? He's a war criminal too. No, I wouldn't pardon him. He needs to be in an orange jumpsuit just like Biden, Obama, and Bush and Clinton. Both Clintons. Dupes, thank you so much for the super chat. It says, I'm Arab, very much used to anti-Arab Islamic sentiment since 9/11. It's part of the American zeitgeist and ordained by the U.S. government. To anyone of color in America, we already know our safety is not valued. Amen. All right. Chima says the U.S. is everything and much worse that it accuses China, DPRK, Russia, Cuba, Syria, and Venezuela of being. It projects its savagery onto others. This is absolutely true. This is what it's been doing for decades and decades and decades. David says they project every accusation is a confession. Absolutely. Matt John saying, happy Sunday, y'all. Good to see you, Matt John. Daniela coming in saying, hi, everyone. Good to see you, Daniela. Peace Dove says, look at state Israeli oath. Interesting. Daryl says, solidarity. Thank you so very much. Golden Monarch says, after overcoming food poisoning, I see more Zionists like RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson are doubling down on their IPAC rhetoric. Oh, wasn't that horrible? By the way, for Marianne Williamson to say that she didn't know that Gaza was occupied, I'm like, ma'am, you are running for president of the United States. I knew Gaza was occupied for the last 2 years when I first started actually looking into this issue. And she has been knowing about this issue pretty much all her life, and she doesn't know that Gaza is not occupied. That's not a good look for her. And then on top of it, for RFK Jr. to make the claim that he made, that saying that Palestinians are some of the most pampered people, after seeing how many of them have been dying over the last 2 months, never mind the last 75 years, and you're going to call them pampered? Well, how in the hell what do you think about us black people then? Robert? The hell is wrong with you? Oh my God, I'm trying not to cuss. Pampered? Wow. You really are a Kennedy, aren't you? My gosh. Thank you so much for that. Breakup Google says if Florida announced it was seceding from the union, it would be met with laughter. Screw Florida. It is run by the likes of DeSantis and Wasserman Schultz. Save me before it secedes, please. Oh, man. Matt says private schools aren't truly schools, they're businesses. Woo! Yep. Wow. John Small says solidarity and peace to RBN. Thank you so very much. Now, we got to get going. So we're going to be getting into our next story. Before I get into the next story, please make sure to give a like, as well as if you guys have not, then we are also raise money for our graphics designer. She does great work for us, Erin. If you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $Mutual Aid Forever, we raise money for our graphics designer. She also does our clips, so thank you so very much for your contribution on that as well. And also, we also do raise money for our mutual aid chapters in our respective cities. I'm raising money for the Orlando Mutual Aid Chapter. So if you guys would like, you guys can go to Orlando RBN, $Orlando RBN, and that will help us out as we are raising money for grocery gift cards and toiletries, especially. So we are trying to do some actions here for our unhoused neighbors here in Orlando. So thank you so very much for that. Now, the next story that we're going to be getting into has to do with education as well, but this one has to deal with an educator. Let's get into this. This story is kind of crazy. Teacher fired. Why was he fired? Plot thickens. So, let me share with you guys who this guy is. Warner Robins, teacher accused of threatening to kill a student over comment about his Israeli flag. So we have a Zionist here. It says Benjamin Reese bond was set at $2,500 for the terroristic threat charge and $5,000 for the charge of cruelty to children. Reese has since bonded out. So we're going to read this and we're going to get into this right now. So this is out of Georgia and Warner Robins. It says a Warner Robins teacher is accused of threatening to behead a student after she made a comment about his Israeli flag, according to Houston County Sheriff's Office. Let me enlarge this just so you guys can see. Yup, you guys are reading that absolutely correctly. It says Benjamin Reese is a 7th grade social studies teacher at Warner Robins Middle School. He was arrested on December 8th. That was a few days ago. Several witnesses say they overheard Reese shouting, "You mother effing piece of ish, I'll kick your ass. I should cut your mother effing head off," end quote, around students on Friday. According to a incident report, around 3:30 p.m. on December 7th, a deputy was on duty when he was informed Reese threatened a child's life. It happened on 7th grade in the 7th grade technical hallway where students were on their way back to the 8th grade hallway. First of all, let me ask you this. What if that was your child that was threatened? Oh, baby, if that was my child, I'm about to catch a case. You're not going to sit here and threaten my child over something that they said. You're the teacher. Now, let's get into some of the more details of this, because this is just, this dude went off his rocker. So it says the report says a student wanted to talk to Reese about the Israeli flag in his classroom and told him she found it offensive. First of all, let me ask you this. If a teacher is Haitian, can they have a Haitian flag in their classroom out of Haitian pride? Just a question. What if the teacher is Cuban, Puerto Rican? What if the teacher is Chinese and they have a China flag inside of their classroom for Chinese pride? Is that allowed? Are you allowed to have flags of foreign governments that you may be from in your classroom? If they can't have their flag, then why is an Israeli flag allowed? See where I'm going with this? So the student decided to approach that teacher about their issue with having an Israeli flag. So let's continue on. Reese asked her if it had anything to do with Judaism. She wanted to know why it was hanging there, and Reese told the student that he was Jewish and had family members who still lived in Israel. The student says she found the flag offensive due to Israelis killing Palestinians. Reese then told the student that she was being anti-Semitic. See where this narrative goes? You criticize a government, and then you're told that you're being bigoted. She didn't say anything against Jewish people. She was speaking about the government of Israel. And yet he accused her of being anti-Semitic. See how this narrative twists things and it makes people act a certain way? Continuing on. Says after that, several different witnesses independently said that they heard Reese say, quote, he would kick her effing ass, slit her goddamn throat, and drag her ass outside and cut her head off, end quote. A faculty member says she heard Reese say, quote, you don't make an anti-Semitic comment like that to a Jew, end quote. The witnesses says that student responded negatively to Reese, but was not yelling. The witnesses say that the students left the classroom, but Reese followed them down the hallway. The same witnesses says Reese was later then seen returning to his classroom, cursing extremely loudly. The witnesses say he was yelling that he should not be spoken to like that because he is a Jew. He went on saying, quote, I will drag her ass out into the parking lot and blank her effing throat and blank her. A deputy at the school interviewed several witnesses and said that they heard Reese make similar statements. They included other teachers, staff members, and students who were in class for tutoring or after school detention. The deputy reviewed video from the hallway of what really happened. The video has no audio, but showed Reese yelling down the hallway and heading back into his classroom. Here is the crux of it. It says, the deputy informed the principal, Brett Wallace, about what happened. He also talked to Reese in the classroom with Wallace present. Wallace asked Reese if he threatened students. The report says Reese became very defensive. Wallace asked who had last spoken to. He denied speaking to anyone. He then told Reese and the deputy that there was a student who found the Israeli flag in his classroom offensive. Reese told the student that they were being anti-Semitic. See how he doesn't tell the entire story? Reese went on to say that he did not say anything racist and that he has spoken to another teacher about the issue. It's not that he said anything racist. It's that he threatened the student. He threatened her life. Dear God, the mental gymnastics here. The deputy then led Reese from the hallway to his classroom. The report says Reese was angry about the situation and kicked the door stopper in an aggressive manner. When the deputy asked what happened between Reese and the student, Reese asked if the deputy was speaking as an SRO, school resource officer, or as an officer. The deputy said both, and Reese said he had nothing further to say and invoked his civil rights. He knew he messed up. Oh, he messed up bad. His Zionism got him in trouble. A judge set Reese's bond to $2,500 for the terroristic threat charge and $5,000 for the charge of cruelty to children. Reese since bonded out. Houston County Schools issued a statement. Quote, all employees of Houston County School District are required to follow the Code of Ethics for Educators. If there is a violation of accusation of a violation, we investigate and respond appropriately. While we are not able to discuss specific personal matters, we can share that Mr. Reese has not been on the campus of Warner Robins Middle School since December 7th of 2023. Safety and the well-being of our students and staff is our number one priority. By the way, if that gentleman, Benjamin Reese, is a father of a school-age child, that child probably didn't get expelled. Just saying. So we're at a moment right now. We're expressing your disdain for what's going on in Gaza. Can get your life threatened. We're in a state right now where a 6-year-old can get stabbed to death for simply being Muslim and Palestinian. If you're speaking Arabic and you're wearing the keffiyeh, you can get shot. And then if you express your displeasure with the Israeli government, you can get your life threatened by a teacher. Or if your parent shares a meme of their opinion that is nonviolent against a group of people and does not threaten anyone, but just expresses their opinion, you can get expelled from school. And the crazy part is you have people that are saying that it's the only people or all the people who are being that feel threatened are Jewish kids in school. I want to share this because this is something that was talked about yesterday, not yesterday, but Friday. And I saw this and I was just like, man, this is interesting. So I'm not going to share the entire video, but I think this bears, this is important. Shout out to Case Study QB for this. So it says deep debate between Morning Joe, Al Sharpton, and Eddie Glaude Jr. on the anti-Semitism on college campuses. Now, just as a clarification, when anybody talks about anti-Semitism in this country, what they're referring to is anti-Jewish. Because in reality, anti-Semitism would mean any type of hate directed towards Semites, which are Jewish people and Arabs. So let's make that very clear. Because if we're going to use words, then we have to use their accurate definition of these words. So let's just get into it.
Claiming that the universities and colleges are these hotbeds of anti-Semitism and illiberalism. I just beg to disagree, Joe. I've been working in this space for 30 plus years. I'm one of those professors who are often read as radical and all that because I teach in African American studies. And there's anti-Semitism is not at the heart of what we're doing. We're trying to create a way of seeing the world that opens it up to the vast diversity of this world. And so it seems to me that the anti-Semitism that has defined the country over these last few years has been exaggerated, not exaggerated, ignited, grown, expanded as a result of the Israel-Hamas war. And we have to kind of understand that we're in a moment where the country has forgotten how to disagree and students are arguing in that context. I don't know if that made sense, but there's a lot bubbling up in me after I heard Greenblatt give his comments.
Now, first of all, one thing I want to say here is that Eddie Glaude Jr. is literally on college campuses every single day because he's a professor. So he sees what's going on. And we're at a precipice right now where does anti-Semitism exist? Absolutely it does. Has it gone up? Yes. I would argue, yes, it has. But is it at the level that a lot of, and I would say, Zionist students are saying? I would argue that anti-Semitism has arisen higher for Arab students than it has for Jewish students. Now, here's the thing. You have a lot of Jewish students that equate anti-Zionism with anti-Judaism. When in reality, Zionism and Judaism are two separate and different things. Zionism is a political ideology. Judaism is really a religion. And by the way, and I can play it, but there's an actual Jewish rabbi that says Judaism is not even an ethnicity. It's a religion, full stop. That's what a rabbi said. Now, different rabbis would say the interpretation is different. But ultimately, Zionism and Judaism are not the same thing. And so when you speak out against what Israel's doing, and when you talk about ending the occupation, a lot of people with Zionist proclivities would say, oh my God, you want the eradication of Jews, when it's like, no, we just want the occupation to end. That's like saying that we want that indigenous people here in the United States want the illegal occupation of Turtle Island to end, as saying, well, you just want to eradicate all Americans. It's like, no, we don't want to eradicate all Americans. We just want our land back. We just want justice. Saying that Black people want reparations for the slavery, we're not talking about that we want to make all white people poor, or we want to eradicate white people. We just want justice for what has been done to us as a people. So it's always taking this and pushing it way further than what the actual understanding is. And so because of that, there's this fear, this misplaced fear that is attributed to Jewish students, but is never attributed to the Arab or Palestinian students that may be on college campuses. By the way, three college students in Burlington, Vermont were literally shot because they're Palestinian. I would argue that Arab and Palestinian students also, their fears should be validated because of what they're going through. And then a student, by which nationality, I have no idea of that student, but expressing her disdain out of state for what they're doing against the people, gets her life threatened. A little Palestinian boy who is 6 years old gets stabbed over 20 times, and people aren't saying, "Oh my God, I'm in fear for the Muslim and Arab people in this country." I don't hear people expressing that. Or for all the students who express their solidarity with Palestinians on college campuses, and now they're literally getting doxxed. Black students getting doxxed. But you don't hear Joe Scarborough expressing anything about that. Let's get into this, because this is the thing that gets on my nerves. Because I'm just like, what in the hell is going on?
Well, I mean, but even before the Hamas, the vicious Hamas terror attacks of October 7th last.
By the way, resistance against an occupying force is legal. I'm just going to leave that there.
Year, 60% of the hate crimes recorded last year were recorded against Jews. And Jews only make up a little over 2% of the population, Eddie.
Absolutely.
That has nothing to do with a war. That has nothing to do with that. And I will say, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years myself, and I can tell you that there has been anti-Semitism on college campuses, and it always seems that these stories bubble up time and time again through the years. And for some reason, there are elites that have a blind spot towards Jews and a penchant for hatred towards Israel because they see Israel as the oppressor. And it fits.
Hang on, wait a minute, Joe. Let me ask you this question. What about the anti-Semitism within the United States government? And by anti-Semitism, I'm using it in the correct form. The anti-Semitism that murdered 2 million Iraqis. The anti-Semitism that murdered hundreds of thousands of Afghans. The anti-Semitism that literally murdered Libyans. What about the anti-Semitism that is encouraged by the United States government by sending weapons to Nazis in Ukraine? Are we going to talk about that anti-Semitism that the United States government perpetuates day after day, year after year? The United States government doesn't care about Jewish people, because if it did, it wouldn't have given Nazis in Ukraine weapons. Are we going to talk about that type of anti-Semitism? Are we going to talk about the anti-Semitism of when Donald Trump put a ban against people in Arab countries from migrating here? Are we going to talk about the anti-Semitism that Ron DeSantis displays when he says that he doesn't want anybody from Palestine or Gaza ever becoming refugees here? Are we going to talk about that anti-Semitism? No, you wouldn't dare, because brown people don't matter to you. Joe Scarborough is only talking about the white Semites. He doesn't care about the brown Semites. Are we going to talk about the brown Semites? No, because they don't give a shit about them. Because if they actually did, then they would be talking about the anti-Semitism against brown Semites. But every single time anybody is darker, anyone in this country, gotta calm down. Anybody that's darker than cornstarch does not get any deference whatsoever when it comes to their lives being threatened. And that's the crazy part. A white kid is scared, everybody runs to their defense. A black kid is scared, well, he gets shot because he's scared, and that's scaring us. They don't give a shit about brown Semites.
It's naturally into their sort of analytical construct of the world.
Right. So I think it's really important for us to concede the claim that there has been, in fact, an exponential increase in anti-Semitism. We can give an account for that exponential increase, having everything to do with Great Replacement theory, have everything to do with Trumpism and MAGA Republicans invoking globalists who are behind the kind of influx of immigration. We can give an account of the very thing that you've talked about, the Tree of Life massacre. We can give an account of that, Joe. But I think it's really important for us to understand that the context of the critique of the state of Israel is not just simply rooted in a deep-seated hatred of Jews.
Right.
People could have a critique of the state of Israel and its policies vis-a-vis Palestinians without trading in the ugliness of anti-Semitism.
That's the point. But people like Joe won't get it through his thick toe-shaped head that, oh, wait a minute, you can critique a state without actually being prejudiced against the people. If you criticize an African country for the policies that it implements and what it does against the marginalized people, does that make you racist? And if you argue against it, then guess what? You just also made the argument for anti-Zionists. Because you can criticize the state of Israel, you can criticize the illegal occupation, you can criticize the apartheid, and not be anti-Semitic. And so people who are on college campuses going, oh my God, we fear for our lives because they're speaking about a state. That fear is misplaced because I don't get scared when you criticize Nigerian policy. I don't get scared when you criticize Algerian policy or policy out of Mozambique, because I know that you can criticize an African nation without being racist. A Latino is okay if you criticize policy coming out of Colombia. How many people criticize Cuba for their economic policies, but is that anti-Latino? Hello? Are we thinking with our thinking caps here? That's my question. Eddie Glaude here is correct.
And I think this is where we have to begin to disentangle the critique. So if we see a rise in a critique,
Eddie, this morning we've been very critical of the
of course,
Netanyahu government, and have been critical for some time.
But it's not just Netanyahu. It's not just Netanyahu. Because here's what we're not going to do. What we're not going to do is say, well, if they just get a different person in the head of their government, as long as they keep the illegal occupation going, but they do it nicely, then we're going to be like, okay, Israel can keep doing what it's doing. They're being nice about it, though. They're going to nicely illegal occupy and take the land of the Palestinians. No! What kind of neoliberal BS is that? That's that. I'm sorry, but this is the same argument that somebody like Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. would make. Oh, we don't like Netanyahu. We just want, let's say you get somebody that's on the left, like a Bernie Sanders in Israel, but they keep the illegal occupation going. Does it still make it right just because the person smiles in your face? No. Wrong is wrong. Come on now. It's still wrong. If I threaten your life with a smile, and I say it so nice and sweetly, whisper sweet nothings in your ears, I threaten your life. Does that make it any better? If I kick you out of your house, but I go, oh, I wish you peace, I wish you well. Please, it's about to rain. I hope you got your umbrella. But I still stole your house. Does that make it okay? See the moral spinning that people like Joe Scarborough and people on MSNBC do? But make no mistake, they do the same thing on Fox, CNN, and all these other right-wing and liberal outlets. I don't even know if I'll be able to get through this entire thing. Golly.
And there are an awful lot of people who a lot of Jews who've been critical of the Netanyahu regime, but there's a big difference between that and Jews kids not being able to walk across a college campus without being berated or harassed.
But wait a minute. Oh my God. Who was doxxed? Who was told to never even get a job again? Was it Jewish students, or was it Black and Palestinian and Arab students? Whose picture was put on a truck and paraded around on college campuses? We literally got a 15-year-old that literally got expelled because of what his mother posted. Like, are these people? What? I'm getting hot. I'm about to take my jacket off. Good God. Golly.
Our menorahs not being able to be put up on college campuses without them being defaced.
But Joe, you're conflating 2 points here. Now, I'm not disagreeing with that. I said there are protests on campuses. Some hold noxious views. Some are behaving in ways that are unacceptable. I completely agree with that. But what I'm saying is this: there are professors like myself who hold the view that the state of Israel's position vis-a-vis Palestinians is wrong, and I can give an account for it. Because I hold a view consistent with the tradition out of which I come, that every human being, as a creature of God, deserves dignity and standing, should be treated with respect and accorded rights. And so there's an account that I can give. There's an account that you and I can give of why that's a source of critique. Now, this has happened in the context of the explosion of the war in Gaza. And all of a sudden, everything is coming out. And then we're painting with these very broad brushes, my friend. And what I'm trying to suggest very, very, very honestly and lovingly is that what is being described, what's happening on campuses is being described isn't correct in my view.
We have to be careful of something. And I got to say this. criticizing the state of Israel is not anti-Semitic. Now, with that being said, I think it's also important that we don't use what's going on as an excuse to be actually anti-Semitic. And by that, I mean actually expressing hate for Jewish people. Which I've been to a Palestinian protest. I didn't see any hate towards Jewish people at all. In fact, I've seen many Jewish people at the Palestinian protests. And they love them just like they loved them when before 1948, when they lived among them. And so I have seen people on Twitter make excuses for being anti-Semitic and using this as a way to do that. But for the most part, a lot of the students that are expressing their opinions about what the state is doing to Palestinians are not anti-Semitic. They're criticizing the government. And they're criticizing the policies and what's being done against the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza. It's not just Gaza. It's places in Ramallah. It's places in the West Bank and in Jenin. That's what's going on. And so that isn't hatred against Jewish people. It's hatred against the government of Israel and what it's been doing for 75 years against an indigenous people that has been in that land for hundreds of years. That's the problem. And you got these kids on these college campuses that are conflating the two and thinking that disdain for the policies of a state is equal to their identity.
It's too
Eddie,
broad of a
Jewish
brush.
kids are afraid. Eddie, there are Jewish parents that would say you are living on another planet. Their children stay in their dorm rooms. They are scared to go to classes. Their parents call them and tell them stay inside today.
Yeah.
It is happening, Eddie, and I'm surprised that you don't know that that is happening when you are. I love you. I can't let you say that this is not happening on college campuses because I know it is.
Joe.
Hold up. Wait a minute. You're telling this to a black man in America, Joe. I have yet to see anybody go this hard for black people on college campuses. Where were you? Where were you when it comes to black people on college campuses? We have to sit through the racism, not just from conservatives, but also liberals, the microaggressions. And yet, he never goes this hard for black people on college campuses. I've never seen him do this. I've never seen a House resolution condemning anti-blackness. If it has happened, please, somebody let me know. Send me the link. Where's our resolution? I haven't seen shit. It's not. Where's the resolution condemning anti-Arab sentiment? Where's the resolution? Show me. And my problem isn't that they put a resolution for Jewish people in the House and passed it. condemning anti-Semitism. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is that you don't uphold other groups to that same level, because we don't matter to y'all. Anybody that is darker than mayonnaise does not apply.
I'm saying that it's happening in spaces. I said painting with a broad brush. Painting with a broad brush, because what's happening is that we're linking these discussions as a way of critiquing colleges and universities as these hotbed spaces of illiberalism. That's the problem, that wokeism is the problem, that DEI is the problem. So we need to disentangle what are rightfully, genuinely fears on the part of Jewish students, fears on the part of students, Brother Al, walking around on campus. But we cannot, it seems to me, let this bleed into a criticism of colleges and universities as these illiberal spaces overrun by some left-wing orthodoxy.
They are illiberal, Eddie. They are illiberal. There have been speech codes on college campuses. Kids have been bubble wrapped for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Bubble wrapped. They need their own safe spaces. You're not allowed to say this. You're not Eddie, if you don't think that your students aren't afraid to raise their hands and say something that's unpopular that will get them canceled on social media, then you don't know what's going on in your own campuses. Kids who are conservative, kids who are liberal, kids who identify themselves as progressive, they are horrified of being canceled on college campuses because the illiberalism that has continued to rise on college campuses for the past 7 years. Now,
like criticizing the state of Israel, Joe, for fear that they may end up losing their scholarships, for fear that they might have a billionaire that tells the school to not for any businesses to keep hiring them. Is that what you're talking about? For fear of that? For fear of being doxxed and have your picture being posted and then run around on campus calling you an anti-Semite, which you are not? Is that what you're talking about, Joe? Please enlighten me about how these are liberal bubbles, where if you're someone like a Michael Parenti, you really can't go to college campuses that often anymore, because if you're somebody that has a different view outside of the capitalist system, well, then they don't really want you to have you on college campuses. But yet a Ben Shapiro can come in and go against college kids who haven't thought that deeply about some of these issues. And then next thing you know, he beats up on them because they're easy targets, rather than going after somebody who's actually thought deeply on the issue. He thinks they're liberal bubbles. Okay, fine. Liberals are just right-wingers that have pseudo-wokeness. So therefore, what? You want to talk about protection? Okay, they protect a particular class. How many classes do we have that teach economic systems outside of capitalism? Y'all won't dare allow that. Give me a break.
Suddenly it's Jews who are getting harassed, and people are going, we have to have free speech, no safe spaces. Please, let's not bubble wrap these Jewish kids. We can have the debate. Come on, Eddie. Where have you been, my friend?
But Joe, let me say this. I think we often say two things can be right at the same time. First of all, I think that the fear of many Jewish students are real.
That's
fears.
genuine.
And I think that there is, if somebody's running around campus talking about kill the Jew,
I don't think that's happening.
Well, I think that there's been reports that are credible that say that, just like if they say kill the blacks, but it happens.
Anybody ever see that video of this one Jewish kid saying that he wanted to off Palestinians, off Arabs? Did that kid ever get canceled? I can find it on Twitter. It's pretty easy to find. I can share it with y'all. But he literally talks about, you know, smoking Palestinians or Arabs. Did he get canceled for that? Because I never, maybe it's just me, but I don't ever hear that, right? Lord and Lord, these people are gonna make me pop a blood vessel on this thing. Thank God my blood pressure isn't high.
In a context where I think your point is right, where we saw people marching in Charlottesville saying we will not be replaced. And when you have somebody like Congresswoman Stefanik saying this person shouldn't be a president of a university because they tolerate anti-Semitism or tolerate any of this, but they shouldn't be the president of a university, but Donald Trump, who's a bigot, should be the president of the United States, the same Congresswoman. I think, though, we can't step over the fear, because when I hear someone say, well, let's not worry about a student in a space,
of course,
it's like somebody saying to me, well, what happened with George Floyd was just one guy, and that there's not a problem of policing. There's a...
Hold up. Let me ask you this. Has anybody ever heard of the phrase systemic anti-Semitism? Put it in the chat. Have you ever heard of systemic anti-Semitism? I have never heard of it. I have yet to hear about it. Is anti-Semitism an issue? Yes. Is it as prolific as it's being touted as? I don't think so. But you have heard of systemic racism, haven't you? You have. And yet, when we Black people express our fears, it's always waved away and explained away. So for Al Sharpton to say that, it's not really a one-to-one. Because, yes, a Jewish student can be in fear of some white supremacists, some racist people, things like that. Of course, they can, right? But is that part of a system? Does a Jewish student also experience fear when they're pulled over by the cops? What about when they go to court? Are they in fear that they're going to be judged more harshly and disproportionately than they would any other group? That's my question. I told this to a person yesterday when I was doing I was on another show. I think it comes out later today. For instance, Did you know that Scarlett Johansson is Jewish? I didn't know. I didn't know Marianne Williamson was Jewish until she told me. I didn't know Aaron Mate was Jewish until I heard it out of his mouth. See, here's the thing. Just like Irish and Italian people became white in this country, we're now at a place where now a lot of us see Jewish people also as white. So therefore, when it comes to their fears are legitimate, right? But to equate them with the fears of what we as Black people feel, it's nowhere near. I don't hear reports of a lot of unarmed Jewish people being shot in the back by police, by the institutions.
Problem of policing, there's a problem of anti-Semitism, there's a problem of racism, and we've got to deal with people at their pain and use that for the broad
I think
argument.
you're absolutely right. If we don't want to lose sight of the dignity and standing of every human being, of every student.
Right.
But there's something that we keep forgetting. And I think we have to keep it on the table. As we have this debate, there are folk who are defending a position, whether you agree with it or not, that Palestinians are, in fact, bearing the brunt of oppression.
No,
there's an argument.
Doubts that.
No, there's an argument.
We agree with that.
Okay, and so
we all agree with that.
Okay, Joe, and I know Sister Susan, I'm sorry, but there's in the midst of these arguments on campus, it's not just simply one side being an argument directed at Jews. It's an argument directed in defense of Palestinians.
By the way, the Palestinians are being oppressed by whom? And don't say Jews, because it's not based on religion. They're being oppressed by Zionists. Zionism is a political ideology. It has nothing to do with Judaism. Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, was an atheist. So therefore, it has nothing to do with actual Judaism. So, when it comes to the Palestinians, yes, they are being oppressed by Zionists. There are Jewish Palestinians that are being oppressed by Zionists.
And sometimes the defense of Palestinians is being read as an anti-Semitic claim. And if we can't distinguish it, then we're going to paint the whole place.
But I understand that many of us were accused of supporting rioters when we were there saying we were marching against injustice. But we can't excuse the rioters.
I'm not excusing.
And we can't excuse those that do.
I'm not excusing.
Riots are the language of the unheard. Who did that come from? Martin Luther King Jr. I love how he wants to invoke Martin Luther King Jr. when it's convenient, but he doesn't say anything like that. Anyway.
I'm saying that we have to have the moral courage to say we disagree with that, but this is our position. I'm as anti-Netanyahu as anybody in the country, but that does not mean I do not support a two-state solution, and calling for the killing of either side, either people, is not a two-state solution.
The killing of
that is feeding into the survival of the fittest.
The killing of innocence is never justified, ever, period. I agree with
Yes, absolutely. The killing of innocence is never justified. And by that very notion, resistance against an illegal occupying force is also justified. But it's funny how nobody at this table is actually talking about that either. Even though it's legal by international law.
with your whole heart.
Again, let's be very clear here. You can be critical of Netanyahu's policies, which we are here.
You know how they keep on saying Netanyahu's policy, but they never talk about the state of Israel's policies? You guys notice that? You too? It's weird. Because some of these policies happened before Netanyahu ever came into office. Goodness. Interesting, right? They didn't say, by the way, they didn't say, oh, Naftali Bennett's policies.
Here every morning and still condemn the anti-Semitism on college campuses. And let me say one more time, this did not start with this war. And there has been anti-Semitism on college campuses for years, and anti-Semitism across the United States has been growing for years.
Right.
And it has found a safe haven on the far right and on the far left.
Oh no, not the far left. Keep our name out, Joe. Keep our name out your mother effing mouth. No. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. No, you're wrong. The hate is against illegal occupation and apartheid. That's where the hate lies. For a group like Jewish people, it does not exist there like that. Nowhere near. Nowhere. This is how you know somebody like Joe Scarborough doesn't know a thing about the actual left. This is that BS horseshoe theory that somebody like Joe Scarborough subscribes to, which is absolutely stupid and wrong.
For years.
My friend,
more to come. More to come with this conversation. It's so good to have you here, man. It's so good to have you here. Love you. And
love you, man. Playing up for the cameras. But this is the arguments that are being made. This is the arguments that are being made. And the funny thing is, it's never for in defense of any other marginalized group, truthfully and as fervently. I've never seen the ferocity as a defense for people who are black and brown in this country. Whether they're for the black Semites or the brown Semites. And yes, there are also black Semites too. When it comes to the Semites that are black and brown, there's never a defense truthfully for them. It's always divided. And this is how you know it's nefarious, because they divide the Semites as well. Because they want to keep them divided. And one thing I am so happy about is that there are a lot of Jewish people. Happy Hanukkah, by the way, to the anti-Zionist Jews. Happy Hanukkah, and I wish you peace and have a wonderful holiday. But one thing I think I absolutely love is that you have people like Katie Halper, Dr. Joe Stein, Lee Camp, Noah Krejcivit, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate. You have these anti-Zionist Jewish people that are also standing with their fellow brown Semites as well and saying wrong is wrong. You have people like Medea Benjamin. You have Jewish Voices for Peace that are literally standing and saying this is wrong. I think that's important. And their voices matter. And you know what's sad is that a lot of them are also losing. They're losing relationships with family members and friends because some of their family and friends are propagandized to believe in Zionism. Yes, Miko Palet and Norm Finkelstein. Thank you so very much, Marvin. Exactly. And I think it's important that we highlight voices like theirs because their voice matters too. And the crazy part is a lot of these students on college campuses that are protesting against what Israel's doing, that are protesting and saying they want the occupation to end, are Jewish themselves. They're Jewish students that are actually speaking out against the illegal occupation and apartheid. But yet nobody wants to talk to them. Are they in fear? Are they afraid for their lives too? Maybe they are afraid of their lives from the hands of the college campus themselves. Has anybody ever thought about that? So I'm going to share this as well because I think this is important. Because a lot of times when we talk about what's going on, and yep, here it is. And what's going on in this country, I think it's important to get context from people who are knowledgeable about different subjects. So let me share this. This is a Jewish rabbi speaking. So, and it says Jew versus, I'm not going to read that word because I may get flagged for that one, but take a listen.
Guest Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, an international speaker, author, and rabbi for over 30 years. Well-known critic of Zionism.
What is a Jew? Definition of a Jew is it's a religion, job description given by God. We are only a people, because of our faith, obligated to fulfill these commandments. Zionist plan was to change the definition of a Jew to a nationality. They stripped Judaism of religious content, left the husk of whatever they could fit into their nationalism. Zionism is its own religion. Artificial Jewish flavoring started creating cultural centers and schools and brainwashing. Zionists had to convince the Jews that you are not what you think you are. A Jew is not a race. They are Jews of all races. A Jew is not an ethnicity. You can't convert to an ethnicity. And Jews are also not a nationality. The Jews had no flag. Difficult to believe that Ivanka Trump and Sammy Davis Jr., who converted to Judaism, are both of the same ethnicity.
I often confuse them.
By that very notion, speaking out against the state of Israel, I guess you're being anti-Semitic towards Sammy Davis Jr.? You're speaking against Ivanka Trump? Because she converted to Judaism. Interesting. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't take into account. Is the problem happening to, there's this talk about what's going on in this country of defense of some Semites, but other Semites, it don't matter. I mean, you literally can have this man here You can literally have this man threaten a student in middle school for criticizing a state. And how many national news outlets talked about this story today, besides some local ones? And now I'm talking about here on RBN. How many of you actually heard about this story on national news? About what this man did? About this man threatening the life of a girl because she expressed her critique of the state of Israel. This is what Loki said. He said, Benjamin Reese, the teacher in Georgia, USA, has been arrested and accused of threatening to behead a 12-year-old who said that the presence of Israel's flag in his class was offensive. The story has been out almost 24 hours and no coverage from national or international news. I'm sure she's scared for her life. What about the mother of the 6-year-old? When she was stabbed and her little boy died. What about the 3 students in Burlington, Vermont that were shot point blank? Not point. One of them was shot as he was fleeing. And they were college students. What about their fears? What about the Palestinian 15-year-old who got expelled from school because of the posts that his mother made on Instagram? What about his fear? What about the students who got their faces plastered all over college campuses? And now you even have a billionaire telling people in different industries, don't hire them. What about their fears? It's always for some, not for others. If we're going to talk about anti-Semitism, let's talk about real anti-Semitism. Let's talk about Joe Biden, his anti-Semitism. Let's talk about Donald Trump's anti-Semitism. Talk about Barack Obama's anti-Semitism and George W. Bush's. Let's not be selective. So that's what happened. And I just wanted to discuss that because this is a larger conversation that needs to happen. And yes, Regina, thank you so very much for reminding me. Regina says, don't forget that the USA took in Nazis in 1945. That's Operation Paperclip. After the war and refused the Jewish people, this is plotting the whole issue of Semites against Semite. Absolutely. Because Operation Paperclip was also an anti-Semitic policy that was implemented by the United States after the Holocaust. I don't see nobody taking in Henry Ford. Like he was a vicious anti-Semite. Or Walt Disney. Are we going to cancel them? Should. All right, so make sure to like the stream, as well as if you guys have not, then we also raise funds for our graphics designer. So you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever. And if you guys would like to, we're raising money for Orlando Mutual Aid. So you guys can go to $ Orlando RBN on Cash App if you guys would be so kind and donate so that we can raise money for the grocery gift cards and toiletries primarily, so that we can give those away to our unhoused neighbors here in Orlando. So thank you so very much. All right. All right, so going to go to the chat. I know y'all been very, very chatty in the chat. Let me check. The Rock first. Let me see. Oh, Roger Meadow says, "Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm in favor of public education, K through bachelor's, but we still need our own institutions within all these universal institutions, because even with those in place, I guarantee you we'll still not get what we need in proportional to our needs. It's our Black people's responsibility for us to push the universal and things specific for our community concurrently, not consecutively, and make white leftist allies understand that our cooperation on what they want hinges on them getting behind us and what we need, because it's past due. That's all." I understand. We can have a conversation about that. I'm not totally against it. So yeah, we can have a conversation about that. Barbara says the picture of the R-worded woman is really taken in Ukraine and was never part of the October 7th Hamas attack, according to Max Blumenthal. Also, baby's head cut off is questionable and not proven. Absolutely. They did not prove that because there's no evidence for it. But thank you so very much for that, Barbara. Now going into the chat. Dupe says this channel serves to remind us there is still sanity in the world, even in the United shithole of atrocities. Long live revolutionary blackout. Thank you so much for Dupe. That was funny. All right, so let me go to the chat. Sorry, guys, I don't have a producer, so I have to scroll through just to take a look and see what people are saying. Spam Filter says, the left, we want to live. The right, we want to you. Joe Scarborough, they look the same to me, right? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. So let's see what Mouse says there. All right, Breakup Google says, at this stage in the fall of the U.S. empire, people need to start collecting intel from the battle to come, start locally. By the way, all the people who Joe Scarborough said he talked to, something tells me there are a bunch of Zionist students who are actually affluent that really have a misplaced fear, when in reality, they don't really have much to be scared of, because these college institutions are protecting them left and right. Wasim says, has anyone discussed how Harvard Dean is being attacked, that she got the job because she's African American, from Ackman and Dershowitz? The only person who I've seen actually talk about that as of recent was Sabby Sabs. But no, a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's true. The ratioing says Ilhan Omar is definitely an African Semite. She is. Oh yeah, Mark says Eleanor Goldfield. Yep, she's also Jewish. The Sand Queen says, I've noticed that even whites in my community have been saying they like my Palestinian flag pin broke, and I'm waiting for a new one. Oh, I can tell they know what it means too, because they look me in the eye saying it. Oh, mean your watermelon pin. Yeah. I love that they actually use watermelon as well, because It's delicious, first of all. Secondly, I think they grow them in Palestine. I would like to taste some. I would like some Palestinian olive oil. I wonder how good that tastes. It probably tastes amazing. I didn't know if Abby Martin was Jewish or not. I don't know if she actually is. I think Dan Cohen is, but Abby Martin, I don't know if she's Jewish. I've never heard her express that she is. I mean, if she is, cool, but I don't know. I actually am curious about that. Kay says Miko Peled is the brother to Nurit Peled Elhanan. Okay, thank you so very much. Captain Obvious says it is important, Jaybe. They demonstrate true humanity by being Jewish but outspoken against Zionism and apartheid. Yes, and look, I gotta say I appreciate the hell out of people, especially groups like Jewish Voices for Peace. They're doing the damn thing on the ground. Love and solidarity to all of them. They are just I really appreciate them. Marvin says, Leon Pop, Gideon Levy, Gilead Atzman. Oh, are these also the anti-Zionist Jewish people that are speaking? Yeah, great. Yeah, we gotta keep giving them their flowers for speaking about the atrocities and letting people know that not in their names. Oh, Canelo says the UN voted that in the 70s that Zionism was racist. Oh, I had no idea. Interesting. All right. Do all things with love says, I remember when Stephen Miller said that anybody who criticized any of his crazy policies was anti-Semitic. Right? Like, if you can criticize Stephen Miller for his idiocy, you can criticize the state of Israel. Man, you guys are brilliant. Alan Cannon says, those who see themselves as superior will never see anyone as a peer that dies, not agree with them in demeaning others. Yeah, this is, in fact, you just reminded me, Alan. Let me share this tweet that I put out, because I think it's important, because a lot of times people, when you start to dehumanize people, and it's easy to dehumanize people when you don't know very many people of that group, and then you start to listen to people who are of a different group that are constantly demonized. And I think this is very important. So let me see if I can find it. Because I think this is important for people to take in. Yes. All right. So let me share this with you guys, because I think this is really important, because I want people to keep this in mind. When it comes to different groups of people, be sure to not dehumanize other people, because that's what leads to genocide. So I said in the tweet earlier, I said, let me enlarge this. I said, when the voices of the oppressed are not shown, then people will project whatever biases and prejudice on that marginalized people. This is why we need to hear the voices of the marginalized even more today. This is why meeting and getting to know marginalized people is vital. And I posted it with this. I have posted this on Facebook because I think this is really important. I said, meet people and build community. Don't know any Muslims? Go out and meet some. Don't know any Jews? Go out and meet some. Don't know any black people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any Asian people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any Latino people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any homeless people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any LGBTQ people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any disabled people? Go out and meet some. Don't know any neurodivergent people? Go out and meet some. Don't be satisfied with knowing only one or two. Find more. We need to humanize the people around us and keep our community and humanity intact. This keeps us from generalizing others and seeing ourselves in them. Stay kind and compassionate. And that's the point. If we want to stop these atrocities, we have to see ourselves in others. This means also in people whom we may think a certain way, but in reality, we're hearing from one side, but we're not actually hearing from them. Mark says, this was a great stream and discussion. Have a lovely day, all of you. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate it. Radical Nation said it's not misplaced fear, it's utter habara, Zionist propaganda. That's an argument that can be made that I won't necessarily disagree. Because they were banning Palestinian flags at sporting events. That's also anti-Semitic. Thank you very much for that. Spam Filter says Palestinians use the watermelon because it has the colors of the Palestinian flag. Israel banned the Palestinian flag and painting it, so they paint the watermelon instead. Yep, because it has all the Palestinian flag colors. This is a good point too, Alan. It says not knowing them does not give a person cover to hate. We live in a broad brush, comfortable existence. That's also true. That's also true. I'm saying getting to know people so that they see themselves more in them, but you don't necessarily have to know them in order to express empathy. But yes, you're also very right, Alan. And thank you very much for that too. So, let me make sure. Let me see. Yep. All right. And also, I'm going to check the Rumble stream just in case, because see if there's anybody. Oh, we got plenty of people on Rumble. I don't know if I can probably. Let me share. I'm going to see if I can share the screen. I wish there was a way I can pop out the chat. Okay. So you guys are going to see me twice, guys. Okay. So Alice McGee says, seeing what the Israeli leaders, heads of state have said regarding Palestinians is vile. Yes. And yes, I just said his head is shaped like a toe. Yes. Thank you so very much, Alice McGee. Alice McGee says, and Israel cannot keep falling back to the Holocaust to cover and excuse them perpetrating war crimes on others. Yeah. Chip Walters says it's time to dismantle the state of Israel. My thing is like, just stop the occupation, man. Just give them back their land. Smell inside your nose says Zionism is anti-Abrahamic and anti-human in general. Alice McGee says they grow olives, and yeah, when not being destroyed by Israel. Yeah. Il Polito says you can order Palestinian olive oil on. Oh, for real? Ooh, I'm broke, but I would love to. Smell inside your nose says anti-Zionist Jews are the beautiful, wonderful, best. Absolutely, they are. They are. Chip Walters says they grew watermelon in Palestine farms, and Israeli sellers have actually stolen watermelon fields. They tried to sell those stolen watermelons back to the Palestinians. Oh my God, that's vile. There are streamers on Twitch reporting other users and streamers who are anti-Israel and anti-Zionist. Oh my gosh, really? Wow. Before the Nakba in 1948, Palestine was world famous for growing succulent watermelons in Jenin, the Jordan Valley, and Arabat al-Batuf as Israeli Defense Forces started occupying Palestine. Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. I'm in the future looking at the screen. Anywho. But yes, thank you so very much to everybody who's on the Rumble chat. And be sure to like us on Rumble too. All right. Oh, Super Seamster Sewing Show says, thanks, JB. RBN Forever, Bakersfield, California. Hello from Bakersfield. Nice to have you in the chat. All right. And Traveler's Wolf. Good to see it. All right, everybody. So I'm going to be heading on out. I think this was an important conversation to have. Yes, Morning Joe, that conversation got me fired up because I was just like, look, I don't hear Joe Scarborough saying any of this stuff as ferociously for Black people as he says it for white Semites, and nothing for the Black Semites as well. I am going to leave with a poem that is said, and I think this is good. So I just want to share this with you guys. But anywho, I just want to say also be sure to catch my channel. It's linked in the description below as well on Tuesday, where I'll be covering news stories. And in about 2 hours, I think Savvy Sabs is going live, so be sure to check with her. And then also, I think Nick and CJ are on tomorrow, so be sure to check in with them. So yes, and yeah. So and by the way, I'll be continuing the reading of Laziness Does Not Exist on my channel, and then I'm also putting out more clips from I did a special live stream on Thursday evening. One of the things I was actually talking about was KRS-One and why he skipped out on the Grammys and how it's linked to exploitation of hip hop. That clip actually comes out tomorrow morning, so that's actually going to be really good. So I hope you guys check that out as well. Anyway, so thank you so very much to everybody. And as always, please make sure to like the stream on your way out. Like I always tell you guys, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny, read something interesting, because joy is revolutionary. Oh, while I have you here, let me hold up. Let me share this with y'all. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but after this, you guys may want to watch this docuseries. Okay? And you guys have enough time before Savvy goes live. Go ahead and watch it. I'm sharing it in the chat. I'm sharing it on the Rockfin chat too. All right? It's a docuseries that IPAC doesn't want you to hear. I got to get through episodes 3 and 4. There's only 4 episodes, by the way. I'm going to try to finish watching them tonight. Anywho, thank you so very much to all of you. You guys are mwah, forehead kisses to every single one of you because you guys matter that much to me. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye. Let's get it on. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
No, I don't want another 4 years of Trump. I don't want any Republican for president, but I don't want a Democrat either. No Democrats, no dykes, no people who've been unemployed. I don't want a Black woman in office, not Oprah, Ava, or even Michelle. No immigrants in the Oval. I don't care how many or which drugs they've done. I don't want a president at all. After all, what is a president but a small king? An emperor whose new clothes I cannot see. An agreement we made collectively that we can unmake just as easily. I pledge no allegiance to America because white men defiled it with borders and called the result a country. I do not confuse dying to vote with dying for freedom, even though they meant the same thing at one time in history. I will not beg for a seat at a table whose legs are bent backs and we dine only on scarcity. I want us to dare to dream beyond the dictates of this dystopia. To say that the ending that so many feared was coming came long ago and we have simply been living in its shadow. I want us to admit more than this being a failure from the start. To say America never was great and never can be. That sometimes the rot is so deep in the root that a pruning does not breed possibility. That the only hope for a harvest lies in the fields being resown entirely. And I want to know why this isn't possible. I want to know why we started learning somewhere down the line that a president is always needed, that a country is always needed, that the police are always needed, that any of this has ever been and will always be needed. And I want to know how. No, I don't want another 4 years of Trump. I don't want any Republican for president.